Top 10 Longest Reigning British Monarchs. From the crowns that stood the test of time to the reigns that defined an era, join us on a captivating journey as we unveil the top 10 longest-serving British monarchs in history. Get ready to be enthralled by tales of power, legacy, and the unwavering rulers who left an indelible mark on the British monarchy. Number 10. King George V, ruled for 25 years and 259 days. King George V ascended the throne on May 6, 1910, and reigned until the 20th of January 1936. His reign was a time of significant historical events and changes for the British monarchy and the nation as a whole. One of the defining moments of King George V's reign was the outbreak of World War I in 1914. As war broke out across Europe, King George V played a key role in maintaining the stability and unity of the British Empire. He did his best to boost morale by visiting the troops on the front line and supporting our troops and their families. King George V witnessed significant political changes during his reign, including the revival of the Labour Party and the suffrage movement. Another major achievement of King George V was his commitment to social issues and improving the living conditions of the working class, especially after the First World War. He supported social reforms, including the introduction of a minimum wage and improved labor rights. During his reign, the monarchy evolved and adapted to changing times, adopting new technologies such as radio broadcasting to communicate with its people. In 1935, the king celebrated his Silver Jubilee, an event full of great joy. George V's reign ended with his death on the 20th of January 1936, and his eldest son, Edward, ascended the throne as Edward VIII. Number 9. King Henry VI, ruled for 32 years and 56 days. Henry VI's reign, which lasted from 1422 to 1461 and briefly from 1470 to 1471, was marked by political instability, internal strife, and ultimately the outbreak of the Wars of the Roses. Henry VI ascended the throne 9 months after the death of his father, King Henry V. During his reign, Henry VI had to deal with conflicts at home and abroad. France's loss of British territory and the war's enormous financial burden contributed to growing discontent among the nobility and the general public. Moreover, his marriage to the French Princess Margaret of Anjou intensified political tensions and opposition from those who opposed foreign influence. One of the major issues during Henry VI's reign was the power struggle between rival noble factions, particularly the houses of Lancaster and York. This conflict eventually escalated into the Wars of the Roses, a civil war between the Lancastrians and the Yorkists. He faced several difficulties during his reign, including periods of mental instability that led to illness and disability. Henry VI was finally deposed in 1461 by Edward, Duke of York, who later became Edward IV, a turning point in the Wars of the Roses. I hope you are enjoying this video. So why not hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you will be notified whenever we upload a new video. Number 8. King George II, ruled for 33 years and 354 days. King George II, who reigned from 1727 to 1760, ascended the throne after the death of his father, George I. His reign was characterized by political stability and the strengthening of the Hanoverian dynasty in England. One of the defining events of George II's reign was the War of the Austrian Succession from 1740 to 1748. As a result of Britain's involvement in the war, George II took an active part in military campaigns, most notably the famous Battle of Dettingen in 1743, where he was the last British monarch to personally lead an army into battle. George II also played an important role in shaping British politics during his reign. He took an active part in the affairs of the state and met regularly with ministers to express his views on important issues. In addition, George II's government controlled the expansion of the British Empire. The British East India Company made significant advances in India, and British influence in North America expanded with the acquisition of territories, including Nova Scotia and parts of Canada. His death on the 25th of October 1760 ended the reign of George II. Number 7. Queen Elizabeth I, ruled for 44 years and 127 days. Queen Elizabeth I, who reigned from the 17th of November 1558 to the 24th of March 1603, is one of the most famous and influential monarchs in British history. When Elizabeth I ascended the throne, she inherited a kingdom deeply divided by religious conflict and political instability. However, she soon demonstrated her ability to meet these challenges and establish herself as a strong and capable ruler by implementing the Elizabethan religious settlement. Queen Elizabeth's reign was also notable for her shrewd diplomacy and strategic alliances. She skillfully managed relations with foreign powers, including Spain and France, while maintaining a delicate balance to protect British interests. Queen Elizabeth created an environment of cultural and intellectual prosperity during her reign. William Shakespeare, Christopher Marlowe, and Edmund Spenser, famous for their Elizabethan literature, were famous playwrights and poets of their time. Queen Elizabeth I also made significant progress in exploration and colonization. Under its patronage, explorers such as Sir Francis Drake and Sir Walter Raleigh embarked on voyages that expanded Britain's global influence. The reign of Queen Elizabeth I also saw great achievements in the fields of art, architecture, and fashion. This period is famous for its unique Elizabethan style, characterized by beautiful clothes, collars, and beautiful hairstyles. The Queen herself became a style icon and a symbol of national pride, setting the fashion trends of her time. Queen Elizabeth I's reign ended with her death on March 24, 1603, leaving behind a legacy of a powerful and visionary monarch. Number 6. King Edward III, ruled for 50 years and 147 days. Edward III, who reigned from January 25, 1327 to June 21, 1377, was an important monarch in English history. Edward III ascended the throne at the age of 14 after his father, Edward II, abdicated. His reign was marked by military victories, political reforms, and cultural achievements. One of the defining aspects of Edward III's reign was his ambition to regain French territory lost to his predecessors. These ambitions led to the Hundred Years' War from 1337 to 1453 between England and France. Edward III's reign also brought significant political reforms and the strengthening of royal power. He appointed skilled administrators such as William Eddington and William Wykeham, who helped to modernize the government and improve financial management. Culturally, Edward III's reign saw the flourishing of English literature and the emergence of Geoffrey Chaucer, considered the father of English poetry. Chaucer's works, including the Canterbury Tales, reflected the vibrant literary scene of the time and contributed to the development of English as a literary medium. Edward III's reign also saw the devastating effects of the Black Death, a deadly epidemic that swept through England in the 1340s. The outbreak of the plague was fatal and had serious social and economic consequences for the kingdom. In his later years, Edward III faced difficulties, including a power struggle within his own family. His eldest son, Edward the Black Prince, preceded him in death, and his grandson, Richard II, later faced political turmoil and during his reign. Edward III's reign ended with his death on June 21, 1377. His reign had a lasting impact on British history. Number 5. King Henry III, ruled for 56 years and 29 days. Henry III reigned from the 18th of October, 1216 to the 16th of November, 1272. He was a monarch who experienced significant political turmoil, religious conflict, and the rise of centralized government in England. Henry III ascended the throne at the age of 9 after the death of his father, King John. During this time, England was involved in the First Barons' War, a conflict between royalists and rebel barons who sought to limit royal power. The reign of Henry III was marked by religious conflicts. His reign saw the construction of notable religious buildings, such as the new chapel at Westminster Abbey, dedicated to Edward the Confessor. However, his close relationship with the papacy and concessions to his foreign relatives were criticized by some and further deepened political unrest. Financial mismanagement was another problem for Henry III. He had difficulty financing his ambitious projects and military campaigns, which led to heavy taxes and the wrath of his subjects. One of the defining events of Henry III's reign was the outbreak of the Second Barons' War. A group of disgruntled barons led by Simon de Montfort rebelled against the crown, sparking a series of conflicts known as the Montfort Rebellion. The war ended at the Battle of Lewes in 1264, where Henry III was taken prisoner and Montfort was temporarily taken prisoner. However, the rebellion was eventually defeated and Henry III regained his throne. Henry III's reign ended with his death on 16th November 1272. His reign was marked by political turmoil and hardship, but it laid the foundation for the development of British parliamentary government. Number 4. King James I of England, ruled for 57 years and 246 days. James VI of Scotland, also known as James I of England, reigned from July 24, 1567, until his death on March 27, 1625. James VI of Scotland was born to Mary Queen of Scots and became king at a young age. This is after his mother abdicated. After the death of Queen Elizabeth I of England in 1603, James united the crowns of Scotland and England and ascended the throne of England as James I. This event represented an important period in the history of the two peoples and opened the way for closer contact between the two peoples. As King of England, James faced many political and religious difficulties. He sought to establish his authority and promote religious unity. However, tensions between Catholics and Protestants remained, causing controversy and conflict throughout his reign. James approved the publication of the King James Bible, which became an influential English translation and a significant cultural and religious achievement. Despite these difficulties, great cultural and intellectual progress took place during the reign of James I. He was a patron of art and literature and contributed to the flourishing of English Renaissance culture. Playwrights such as William Shakespeare flourished under his tutelage, and their works are still cited as some of the greatest works in the English language. The reign of James I ended with his death in 1625. His reign marked a period of transition and unity between Scotland and England, paving the way for the political and constitutional union of the two kingdoms. Number 3. King George III, ruled for 59 years, 3 months and 16 days. King George III ruled Great Britain and Ireland from October 25, 1760, until his death on January 29, 1820. His 59-year reign was a period of significant political and social change, marked by events such as the American Revolution, the French Revolution, and the Napoleonic Wars. George III ascended the throne at the age of 22, inheriting a kingdom deeply involved in global conflicts, including the 7 Years' War. One of the defining events of George III's reign was the American Revolution. The American colonies, dissatisfied with British rule, sought independence, which led to a long conflict between 1775 and 1783. Due to the American Revolution, Great Britain lost its 13 North American colonies, which became the United States. George III faced many personal challenges during his reign. In 1788, he developed a serious mental illness, believed to be porphyria, which made him uncontrollable at times. During his illness, his son, Prince George IV, acted as regent and took over many of the king's duties. However, George III's fortunes improved in his later years, and he remained nominal ruler until his death. In the following years, George III's health deteriorated, and he became increasingly withdrawn from state affairs. He spent the last years of his life in seclusion, and after his death in 1820, his son George IV ascended the throne. Number 2, Queen Victoria, ruled for 63 years, 7 months and 2 days. Queen Victoria, commonly referred to as Victoria, was Queen of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland from June 20, 1837 until her death on January 22, 1901. Queen Victoria ascended the throne at the age of 18 after the death of her brother William IV. Queen Victoria's 63-year reign saw social, political and cultural changes that had a lasting impact on Britain and the world. One of the hallmarks of Queen Victoria's reign was the expansion of the British Empire. During her reign, Britain acquired large territories, including India, parts of Africa, and several colonies in Asia and the Pacific. Victoria's personal life reinforced these ideals with her marriage to her cousin, Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, in 1840. Their marriage was the epitome of domestic bliss. They produced 9 children and became a model for Victorian society. After the death of Prince Albert in 1861, the Queen's mourning had a profound impact on the country. Victoria withdrew from public life, donned mourning clothes, and spent the rest of her life in mourning. Queen Victoria's reign also saw advances in science, technology, and industry. Scientific discoveries, such as Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, challenged traditional beliefs and shaped the intellectual discourse of the time. Politically, Queen Victoria's reign saw a transition to a constitutional monarchy. He retained considerable influence, but power gradually shifted to elected officials and the Prime Minister. Victoria worked closely with prime ministers, including such notables as Benjamin Disraeli and William Ewart Gladstone. Together, they navigated the political landscape with varying degrees of commitment. Queen Victoria's popularity and influence extended beyond England. Her image and values were associated with the British Empire, and after India was annexed to the empire, she was known as the Empress of India. Her death on January 22, 1901, ended Queen Victoria's reign. The Victorian era is remembered for social and cultural changes, the expansion of the British Empire, and the rise of industrialization, all of which shaped the course of British and world history. Number 1. Queen Elizabeth II, ruled for 70 years and 7 months. Queen Elizabeth II ruled the United Kingdom and other Commonwealth territories from 6th of February 1952 to 8th September 2022. Her 70-year reign was marked by special milestones and significant changes in the world. Queen Elizabeth II ascended the throne after the death of her father, King George VI. She was only 25 years old then. She later surpassed the record set by her great-grandmother, Queen Victoria, and became the longest-serving monarch in British history. One of the most important events during the reign of Queen Elizabeth II was the decolonization of Africa. Many African countries gained independence in the 1950s and 1960s, and the Queen remained a figure of continuity and support throughout these transitions. Another important aspect of Queen Elizabeth II's reign was her commitment to public service. She made many agreements and official visits both domestically and internationally, and met with heads of state, distinguished guests and representatives of the people. Her dedication to duty made her respected and loved around the world. Queen Elizabeth II also had personal and family difficulties during her reign. The sudden death of her former daughter-in-law, Princess Diana, in 1997 shocked the nation, and the Queen's response to public grief came under intense scrutiny. In addition, the Queen has witnessed several changes in her family, including divorces, marriages, and the appearance of new members of the royal family. During her reign, Queen Elizabeth II symbolized stability, continuity, and adaptability. Her Christmas broadcasts, public speeches, and ceremonial duties endeared the British people and maintained a high level of public approval throughout her reign. Sadly, Queen Elizabeth II died on September 8, 2022. Her reign spanned decades of global change, and her devotion to duty made her a popular figure both home and abroad. We have come across the reign of monarchs who shaped the history of Britain. Make sure to drop your favorite ruler in the comments section, and if you want to know more about Queen Elizabeth II, make sure to check out the end screen above. Don't forget to subscribe to Spectacular Biography for the most interesting royal documentaries.